1. There is a product sitting in the laundry aisle of every grocery store in the country that replaces 5 separate bottles on the pool store wall. Not partially replaces, not does a similar job at a slightly lower price. Fully replaces at the chemical level the same compound doing the same work in the same water, for a fraction of the cost. The 5 bottles it replaces retail for a combined $80 to $130 depending on your store and your season. The one product in the laundry aisle costs $3 to $5. One trip, one product, $1 per application. 1. And the pool does not know the difference because the chemistry does not know the difference. The pool store has understood this for decades. The professionals who figured it out early kept it inside the trade because a customer who knows which grocery store product replaces which pool store bottle stops being a recurring revenue source and starts being a one-time visitor. So the knowledge stayed behind the counter. Homeowners kept pushing carts down the pool chemical aisle, reading front labels, buying branded complexity, and leaving $80 to $120 lighter every single visit. 1. The laundry aisle product sat 2 minutes away in the same building doing the same chemistry for $1. 90% of pool owners have never been told what the active ingredients in their pool chemicals actually are, not because the information is hidden, it is on the back of every bottle. It is just never explained, never connected, and never volunteered by anyone whose business model depends on you not reading it. 1. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which product replaces which 5 bottles, exactly why it works at the chemistry level, the precise dose for every application, and the one honest line between what you can replace with a grocery store trip and what you genuinely need from the pool supply aisle. That line exists, and this channel will draw it for you because pretending it does not exist costs owners money in the other direction. 1. Before the product. You need to understand how 5 separate pool store bottles came to exist around a single underlying chemistry. Because once you understand the structure, you will never walk down the pool chemical aisle the same way again. The pool chemical industry is not primarily a chemistry business, it is a packaging and marketing business that happens to sell chemistry. The underlying compounds in pool care are relatively few. There are perhaps 8 to 10 core chemical compounds that do all the actual work in residential pool water. What the industry discovered early is that a single compound can be repackaged, renamed, and repositioned as a solution to 5 different pool problems. And the average owner who reads front labels and not active ingredients will purchase 5 separate products without ever recognizing that 3 of them are the same thing in different tubs. Walk the pool chemical aisle and read the active ingredients on the back of every bottle rather than the names on the front. 1. You will find the same compound appearing under names like Shock, Super Shock, Oxidizer, Algae Destroyer, Clarifier Boost, and Weekly Treatment with minor concentration differences and significant price differences. You will find Alkalinity Up, Total Alkalinity Increaser, and pH Buffer all listing sodium bicarbonate. You will find pH Up, pH Increaser, and Carbonate Balancer all listing sodium carbonate. The front of the bottle is a marketing decision. The back of the bottle is the chemistry. The industry profits on the gap between them. 1. The product this video covers lives in that gap. It is sodium hypochlorite, and it is the active sanitizing compound in liquid pool chlorine, in pool shock at certain concentrations, in algae treatment formulas, in equipment sanitizers sold for pool use, and in water clarifying processes that require oxidation. It is also the active ingredient in plain, unscented household bleach. The same molecule, the same chemistry. Different concentration, different label, and a price difference that runs 200% to 400% depending on which version you are buying and where. 1. Understanding why 5 products exist is not cynicism. It is the prerequisite for spending intelligently. The owner who knows what sodium hypochlorite is and what it does not buy 5 bottles of it. They buy one product at the lowest concentration that fits the application and dose appropriately. That owner spends $3 to $5, where the uninformed owner spends $80 to $130 and gets identical results in the water. 1. The product is plain, unscented household liquid bleach, sodium hypochlorite at 6% to 8.25% concentration, depending on the brand. Available at every grocery store, every big box store, every dollar store in the country. A 121-ounce jug runs $3 to $5. No pool picture. No specialty claims, just sodium hypochlorite water and occasionally a small amount of sodium hydroxide as a stabilizer, which is harmless in pool water at the volumes used. One critical qualification before the applications because this channel draws honest lines. The bleach must be plain, unscented, no splash guard formula. One no with cleaning power versions, no scented varieties, no thickened gel formulations, no outdoor bleach with added surfactants. The label needs to say sodium hypochlorite as the only active ingredient with a percentage and nothing else described as active. Pick up the bottle and read the back before you buy. If it lists anything other than sodium hypochlorite as an active ingredient, put it back. Those additives are harmless for laundry and potentially problematic for pool water, either creating foam, leaving residue, or interfering with chemistry readings. One plain is the only word you need. Everything else on the shelf in the bleach aisle is not this product. Now the 5 bottles it replaces one at a time, with the mechanism and the dose. 1. This is the most direct replacement and the one that saves the most money across a season. Liquid pool chlorine is sodium hypochlorite at 10% to 12.5% concentration. Plain household bleach is sodium hypochlorite at 6% to 8.25% concentration. The chemistry is identical, the concentration is lower, which means you use proportionally more volume to achieve the same dose. That proportional difference does not erase the cost advantage, it reduces it slightly, and the cost advantage remains substantial. Here is the math. 1 gallon of liquid pool chlorine at 10% runs $6 to $9 at pool stores depending on the season and your region. A 121-ounce jug of 6% bleach, which is nearly a gallon, runs $3 to $5 to deliver the same amount of active chlorine as 1 gallon of 10% pool chlorine. You need approximately 1.6 gallons of 6% bleach. At $4 per jug, that is $6.40 in bleach versus $7 to $9 in pool chlorine to accomplish the same chemistry in the water. Cost parity at the low end of pool chlorine pricing and meaningful savings at mid and high pricing, which is where pool chlorine spends most of the summer. 1. The dose calculation for daily maintenance in a 10,000-gallon pool is straightforward. To raise free chlorine by 1 part per million using 6% bleach, you need approximately 21 ounces. To raise it by 2 parts per million, 42 ounces. Most pools in July with correct stabilizer levels need 1 to 2 parts per million of added chlorine on a typical day to stay in the 2 to 4 parts per million target range. That is 1 to 2 cups of bleach per evening, added to the pool at dusk with the pump running. That is your daily sanitizer from a jug that costs $4. Added in the evening, not midday. 1 unstabilized or low stabilizer water can lose 50% to 90% of a chlorine dose to UV in a matter of hours under direct summer sun. Evening addition lets the chlorine work through the night when UV is not destroying it and organic load from the day's swimming is at its highest demand point. 1. Most pool store weekly shock products are calcium hypochlorite or sodium hypochlorite at elevated concentrations sold in single-dose bags for $5 to $. Each the purpose of weekly shocking is oxidation. Breaking down combined chlorine. The chloramines formed when free chlorine reacts with swimmer waste, sunscreen, and body oils, and restoring free chlorine to a level that handles the accumulated organic load. Plain bleach handles this application with a larger dose. 1. The principle behind breakpoint chlorination is that free chlorine needs to reach 10 times the combined chlorine level to fully oxidize and eliminate chloramines. For a typical residential pool after a normal week of use, that means pushing free chlorine to 8 to 12 parts per million temporarily. With 6% bleach in a 10,000-gallon pool, that requires approximately 2 to 2.5 gallons applied at dusk with the pump running overnight. A 2-gallon bleach treatment for weekly shock costs $6 to $10 in bleach. 1A pool store weekly shock bag costs $5 to $2 bag Clar black back. 1. Always check the result the following morning, not an hour after adding it. The morning chlorine reading tells you whether the organic load was handled or whether the pool needs a second treatment that evening. A chlorine reading near zero the morning after a full shock dose means the pool had heavy organic demand and the first dose was consumed entirely doing its job. Shock again the following evening, 2 consecutive evenings of proper bleach shock clears the most stubborn combined chlorine buildup. This is the replacement that surprises most owners, because the pool store has positioned Algaecide as a specialty product requiring a specialty compound. The reality is that most algae situations in residential pools, early-stage green algae, mild water discoloration, the beginning of a bloom that is not yet fully established, respond to the same intervention. A significant free chlorine dose that overwhelms the algae's ability to reproduce faster than chlorine kills individual cells. The pool store sells Algae Destroyer, Super Algaecide, and similar products at $15 to $25 a bottle. 1. Many of these are quat-based compounds that kill algae through a different mechanism than chlorine. Some of them work reasonably well on established blooms, but the most common use case, catching an early algae situation before it becomes a full bloom, is handled completely by plain bleach at a shock dose. The elevated free chlorine level kills algae cells at the same rate as many Algaecide products without the weekly repurchase cost. 1 for a pool showing early signs of algae, cloudy water with a green tint, slight discoloration on walls, visible early growth in corners. The response is a bleach shock at 1.5 to 2 times the standard shock dose applied at dusk. Brush the walls and corners before adding the bleach so that algae cells on surfaces go into the water column where chlorine can reach them. Run the pump overnight, test in the morning. If chlorine dropped to near zero and the water is still showing color, brush again and repeat the shock dose that evening. 1, 2 to 3 consecutive evenings of this treatment with continued brushing clears most early algae situations without a single Algaecide bottle. For a fully established green pool, a complete slam is required, and the bleach dose needs to be large enough and sustained long enough to maintain elevated chlorine for 24 to 72 hours. This is a longer process, and we will cover it fully in its own section. But the compound is still plain bleach. The difference is duration and dose frequency, not chemistry. 1. Now, before we go further, if you want the complete version of this in writing, I put together a 39-page guide called the Pool Carter Playbook from Green to Crystal Clear. It covers every grocery store substitute with exact doses, the complete slam process for green pools without a service call, a printable weekly routine, and the 5 numbers that run your entire pool. I went from spending $600 a season to under $150, and my water has never looked better. The link below this video should work. Let's keep going. 1 Pool stores sell specialty sanitizing solutions for cleaning pool equipment, filter cartridges before reinstallation, pool toys and floats at the end of the season, skimmer baskets and pump baskets, pool steps and removable fittings. The products are sold as pool equipment sanitizer or surface disinfectant at $12 to $20 a bottle. The active ingredient listed on the back of every one of them is sodium hypochlorite. Plain bleach handles every one of these applications. The concentration used is a diluted solution, not the full-strength product straight from the jug. 1 for equipment sanitizing. A solution of 1 cup of bleach per gallon of water creates a disinfecting soak that kills bacteria, algae spores, and other biological contaminants on pool equipment surfaces. Filter cartridge sanitizing specifically deserves attention because it is one of the most overlooked maintenance steps and one where the pool store solution is most dramatically overpriced. A cartridge that has run all season accumulates not just debris but biological growth, algae spores, and the oils from sunscreen and swimmer waste that standard hosing does not remove. 1A 30-minute soak in diluted bleach solution followed by a thorough rinse kills biological material on the cartridge surface and prepares it for storage or continued service. The pool store sells cartridge cleaner and filter sanitizer at $15 to $25. The diluted bleach solution costs pennies and does the same job through the same sodium hypochlorite mechanism. One important note on equipment sanitizing with bleach: always rinse thoroughly after soaking. Bleach residue on a filter cartridge reinstalled in the system can temporarily spike pool chlorine and affect chemistry readings. 1A complete rinse with the hose until the rinse water runs clear and shows no bleach smell eliminates the residue entirely before reinstallation. 1 Pool stores sell tile and waterline cleaners, scale removers, and surface brighteners for treating the waterline band that accumulates oils, minerals, and biological staining over the season. These products retail at $12 to $20 and most of them rely on the same mechanism, an oxidizing compound that breaks down organic staining and a surfactant that lifts it from the surface. 1 plain bleach applied directly to a cloth or sponge handles organic staining at the waterline. The oily band from sunscreen and body oils that accumulates at the water surface and early biological staining on tile and coping. Apply it undiluted to a cloth. Wipe the affected surface. Let it sit for 60 seconds and rinse. For stubborn staining, a paste of baking soda with a small amount of bleach creates a mild abrasive oxidizing treatment that lifts surface staining without scratching most pool tile and coping materials. The limit here is mineral staining. 1 calcium scale, iron staining, and copper staining are not organic compounds, and bleach does not affect them. Those require acid treatment, typically diluted muriatic acid, applied carefully to the affected surface with protective equipment and thorough rinsing. The pool store scale remover products for mineral staining are legitimate specialty applications, and this is one place on the pool store wall where the specialty product earns its price. The distinction is simple. If the stain is organic, oily, or biological, bleach handles it. 1. If the stain is mineral, white, crusty, or metallic in color, you need an acid-based treatment. 1. Write these down or screenshot this section because this is the practical output of everything covered above. For a 10,000-gallon pool using 6% plain unscented bleach, daily chlorine maintenance, raising free chlorine by 1 part per million, 21 ounces, added at dusk with the pump running. Daily chlorine maintenance, raising free chlorine by 2 parts per million, 42 ounces, added at dusk. Weekly shock treatment to reach breakpoint chlorination at approximately 10 parts per million. Roughly 2 gallons, added at dusk with the pump running overnight. 1 early algae treatment, 1.5 times shock dose, approximately 3 gallons, applied at dusk with pre-treatment brushing, repeated the following evening if morning test shows near 0 chlorine. Equipment sanitizing soak, 1 cup per gallon of water, 30-minute soak, thorough rinse before reinstallation. Waterline organic stain treatment, undiluted on a cloth, 60-second contact, rinse, scale accordingly for pool size. A 15,000-gallon pool uses 1.5 times these doses. A 20,000-gallon pool uses 2 times these doses. The math is linear because the chemistry is linear. 1 more water requires proportionally more compound. Nothing about the application changes except the volume. Retest after every dose. Free chlorine and pH at minimum. Bleach has a mild upward effect on pH over time, more noticeable with larger doses. A daily chlorine addition in a well-buffered pool rarely moves pH detectably. A large shock dose can nudge pH up by 0.1 to 0.2 units. Worth checking the following morning and correcting with a small muriatic acid dose if needed. 1. This channel draws the line clearly because crossing it costs money in the wrong direction. Bleach does not replace cyanuric acid. Stabilizer is a pool-specific compound with no grocery store equivalent. It belongs in the pool section because it is genuinely a pool-specific chemistry need. Without adequate stabilizer, 30 to 50 parts per million, UV destroys bleach additions within hours, and you are pouring chlorine into a pool that cannot hold it. Buy cyanuric acid from the pool store. Add it through the skimmer with the pump running. It dissolves slowly over 24 to 48 hours, so test before adding more. Bleach does not replace muriatic acid for pH and alkalinity reduction. Muriatic acid from the hardware store at $10 a gallon is already the cost-effective professional choice. No grocery store equivalent improves on it. Use it with proper dilution and protective equipment. Bleach does not replace calcium hypochlorite granular shock for the fastest possible green pool slam. 1-cal hypo at 68% available chlorine raises free chlorine faster and higher per pound than bleach can in a single addition, which matters when you need to sustain 15 to 20 parts per million through a multi-day slam. Bleach works for the slam process but requires more frequent additions. For a severely green pool where speed matters, Cal Hypo from the pool store is the right tool. Bleach does not address established mustard algae or black algae without aggressive mechanical treatment alongside it. One mustard algae requires sustained elevated chlorine combined with decontamination of every item that entered the pool. Black algae requires physical scrubbing with a metal brush to penetrate the protective cell layer before chlorine reaches the organism. The chemical is still bleach at high doses. The mechanical component cannot be skipped, and bleach does not replace professional intervention for electrical work, plumbing repairs, equipment installation, confirmed leaks, or structural issues. The savings from the grocery store method belong in your pocket. 1. They do not belong in an amateur repair of equipment that can seriously injure someone. Own the chemistry, rent the wrench for everything else. Look at what every pool store purchase on this list had in common before you knew the active ingredient. Each one solved a specific, narrowly named problem. Weekly shock, algae treatment, equipment sanitizer, surface cleaner, daily chlorine, 5 problems, 5 products, 5 receipts. The naming made each problem seem distinct, each solution seemed specialized, and the purchase seemed necessary. The active ingredient on the back of every one of them was the same molecule doing the same oxidizing chemistry in slightly different concentrations and contexts. The specialization was in the label. 1. The chemistry was in the jug. The owner who reads the back of the bottle once and drives to the grocery store does not solve 5 problems less effectively than the owner pushing the pool store cart. They solve them identically, in the same water, with the same chemistry, and they do it for $3 to $4 per jug instead of $8 to $130 per cart load. Not because they found a shortcut, because they found out what they were already buying. The pool store is not selling you solutions. It is selling you the same solution 5 times with 5 different pictures on the front. 1. The picture on the bleach jug is a baby or a laundry basket or nothing at all. The picture on the pool store bottle is a sparkling blue pool. The water in your backyard cannot read either one. If you have already made any part of this switch, drop it in the comments. Which replacement did you make first, and what did it save you across a season? Help the next owner skip the cart and go straight to the laundry aisle. Every video on this channel works the same way. Real numbers, no sponsors, no pool store upsell. If that is useful to you, subscribe. 1. This channel reads the water, not the marketing.